What is up today, guys? Today we're going to be drawing monsters and kind of interpreting them, adding to their stories, changing things, maybe kind of making our own monster based on a type of monster. And we're going to base them all on art supplies, the most common art supplies I use, really. So what are we going to base them off of? Let's get into this and find out. Spooky.
Alrighty, so the 5 art supplies that I've chosen are a pencil, a paintbrush, a stylus like for digital art, a Copic marker, or just markers in general really, and an ink pen. These are the 5 I will use most often, and they are the 5 that today I'm going to base monsters off of. I started off by just building my sketchboard, pretty much labeling stuff and getting some basic stock art of supplies. And I just started out with the pencil character. Now the pencil character and another one, I really went back and forth on what kind of designs to go with. So I just started off with an arm shape, and I based the fingers off the pencils, and I was like, this could be really cool, this could be fun. So then I started playing around with some head features, and at this point I didn't have an exact monster I was basing this off of. I was just kind of going for it and see what I could get on the digital page. So I did a pointy head like an eraser head. I was like, not really feeling either of those. So then I tried this like snake head, and I was like, ooh, I can do a serpent kind of character. But just the more I kind of drew it and stuff, I wasn't feeling it. So then I went back and I was like, okay, a pencil is wooden, so what if we do like a marionette kind of thing? Like, you know, dolls, so they can be monsters, right? So they're kind of creepy, so I went with like this puppet on a string kind of look. I said, okay, we're getting something, and it doesn't have to be like, hello, here I am, I'm a pencil. But I just want like some characteristic of a pencil to be shown in the monster I've chosen. And I thought like a wooden marionette would be really kind of fun, kind of cool. So that's the one I'm gonna end up rolling with. Alrighty, so moving on to the brush. I kind of had an idea to begin with, and I just rolled with it and slightly interpreted it each time. So I started off with this like paintbrush head with some eyes and a mouth. And then I said, okay, what if we can turn that into like just a big hairy guy? And he has paintbrush hands and feet, and he's just a big ball of hair. I said, okay, now we can work with that. What's a hairy monster? What about like a Bigfoot kind of character? You know, just a big mysterious hairball running out there in the woods. Bigfoot. So that's what we're gonna go with on that. Okay, so I had a really good idea for pen, so I went ahead and skipped stylus and marker, and I just jumped over to pen. So I was like, what if I do like a tar monster kind of thing from Scooby-Doo or something like that? But the more of like an inky blob monster I got into, I was like, I mean, that's a little on the nose. So what is another kind of classic monster? The Invisible Man. And I'm like, am I just cheating by choosing the Invisible Man, really? But what if he is invisible with ink splattered all over him? He could be like a walking invisible blob covered in ink. So I kind of like that, but I said for the sake of it, I'll draw like a giant squid monster and see if I'm liking that at all, and I really didn't. So the Invisible Man it was. Alright, the stylus. This one I focused more on the name rather than the digital aspect of it. So I was like, who is the monster with the most style? And I was like, it's probably a mummy, right? Like he is covered head to toe in his fashion. As weird of a way to put that as it is. But then I was like, not really feeling the mummy idea, so I went in the more like Dracula kind of way, because I was like, he is the classic like good looking monster, right? He is stylish in all sorts of everything. So then really liking both ideas, I was like, what if I did a mummy vampire kind of thing? And I didn't really like that idea. So a vampire it was. Now the marker. I consider that to be like the backbone of my artistic foundation. So backbone, foundation, I was like, I gotta do a skeleton guy. But I wanted to take an interesting approach to the skeleton man. And that is, I wanted to make him a skeleton, but I wanted to beef him up. Like I really like markers. I love to do marker art, and since it's the foundation, it's one of my strong suits. I said I'm gonna make a strong skeleton man, so he's gonna be beefed up and all sorts of fun stuff. So you got bones showing through everywhere. You've got like decaying gray black muscle, which could be fun. But I said, you know what, for the fun of it, I'll doodle a little basic skeleton man. And I was like, nope, I want my big muscular guy. So with all of the sketches down and my basic ideas down, I've got my monster foundations. I went ahead and opened up a new document, and I started sketching out how these creatures are going to stand, pretty much. Once I had the poses down, I went into more of a secondary form shape, getting the general idea of the monster down, adding some extra details here and there. Once I was happy with that, I went ahead and started doing all of the line work. I then went back into my vampire Dracula character, and I was like, I'm gonna make him stylish, but by golly, he's gonna be ugly. So as we color, we're gonna hear their scary stories. Let's do it.
So I hear you're looking for scary stories. Well, allow me to read you something, and it's going to terrify you to the core. But these are true stories of monsters. Let's begin.
So the story of the pencil marionette. It all happened in Pennsylvania. A little girl was at her preschool class. She sat next to another girl named Bonnie. Bonnie made a little character from pieces in the trash. A toy, one might say. So this little girl, call her Penny, she said, I'm gonna take these pencils and shave them down and glue them together and attach some string to them. She did that, and the toy came to life. But this toy had other plans than just to put on puppet shows. No. This toy wanted to be the only toy. So one night while Penny was asleep, her marionette, made of pencils, took all of her toys. Well, it did unspeakable things. So unspeakable that no one really knows what happened. But the marionette was the only toy in Penny's room the next morning. Now, was this the marionette's act? Was it its best show ever and no one saw it? Or could I just not think of a scary thing to do with this character? No one really knows. No one really knows.
Now, if that wasn't scary enough, our next monster will have you running for your life.
For our next story, we all have heard of Bigfoot. He's had his picture taken a time or two, and yet there's still so many people that don't really believe in him. But no one has ever heard of Brush. Now, why do they call him a Brush? They do so because he's so fast that when he sneaks up on his next victim, the only sound you hear is a brush in the wind, made entirely of hair and fur. The brush has the ability to shapeshift into different sizes. Most see a 2-inch brush. There's the straight edge form. Most often associate Brush with his fan form, which helps him with trees and becoming more realistic and blending in. The Brush doesn't really want to hurt anyone, but he doesn't want to be known to the public. No one really knows where he lives he's a bit of a traveler, but as he is a shapeshifter, the next hairy person you see may actually be the bush.
The next story is one of a tragedy, really. Let us begin.
This next story is one of a tragedy of a once great and beloved monster turned into a hideous creature. Dracula, the most famous of the vampires, had it all. He had a family, TV shows, movies, a successful hotel, a worldwide famous cereal. He was living life right. But the stress of all of these businesses and companies and rivals like Blueberry, they were just too much. Despite being immortal, they were killing him. So one day, he decided to run out into the middle of the sunlight. And he tried to end it. Now, by fate or whatever karma, he couldn't do it. It did not kill him. He thought this goes against every piece of vampire logic he knew. However, he went back inside. The pain was there. The pain of dying was certainly there. But he just did not die. What was once the most handsome and stylish of all the monsters was now scarred to be hideous. He can no longer sell his cereal. No one wants to buy from a hideous monster. He no longer has any movies. His hotel business went down, and he has no more family. Forever to haunt the night, alone.
As devastating as that one was, this one is a story no one really saw coming.
Now this story is really one more on pride and being the best. You see, the Invisible Man was always invisible. There was no freak accident, no nothing. He was just born that way. And when word got around that he was scary, he thought it was pretty cool actually. But when he heard about the tar monster, he had to take him down. And he won. There was a fight, but he won. And then when he heard about the giant squid, he had to take it down because no monster could ever be more scary than he is. So he found the giant squid. And of course, since he is invisible, he did sneak up on it. And he made the first strike. The giant squid, however, got so scared of how intense the Invisible Man is that he inked everywhere. And he swam away, never to be seen again. The Invisible Man was so proud of himself. So proud to be the scariest monster on land and sea. However, his pride ruined his ability to be a monster. Because though he is still invisible, he's now permanently inked, taking away his scariest feature. Now granted, he could cover up the ink, but it is permanently stuck to him, forever stained.
Now, our final story tonight will chill you to the bone.
The Skeleton Man is a monster that has lived on for eons and will continue until the end of time. You see, there was a guy. He died, as anyone does. But then, One night, in the grave, his skeleton rose, and it was alive. He wandered the streets. It was dark, no one saw him. But as he was trying to go home, bam! He got hit by a car, and his bones exploded everywhere. 10 years later, his bones breathe life again. They reform. The dust reforms into bones, and he's back. People have grown, and he finds the man that hit him. And he kills him. His spirit is then released, and he is no longer the skeleton man. But the driver that hit him 10 years ago was buried, and 10 years later, his skeleton rose and became the skeleton man. And so the story will continue forever, with each skeleton man's spirit only being released after killing and passing on the curse. And with each kill that the curse has, more and more muscle is added to this monster, making him infinitely strong, infinitely big, and infinitely terrifying.
That is pretty much it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed, if you liked any of these monsters, which one was your favorite? I'm a big fan of the Skeleton Man, that's all I'm saying. But, yeah, that's it for this one, guys. If you would please like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video. See you guys later.